Okay guys, I thought I'd do a quick little end of the day market recap video, so we're going to just get right into it. I'll try to keep this one relatively short. So we're going to start out here with volatility, and I want to just point out how volatility just continues to hang in there, really just hitting support, on this UVXY around 1034. It's not moving down. So even though the market has continued to kind of grind higher, volatility is just hanging in there. And to me, I think that's a sign, on this UVXY on the chart, we've got bullish divergence that remains. And, we continue to just kind of consolidate. So I think we're building energy for a big move higher in volatility. The other thing that I'm starting to see in the market is some of these names, these momentum names are starting to roll over. And I think while everyone's watching the GME stock and really focusing on, that's really sucking in, everybody's talking about it. So I think while the focus is on that, some of these other names are starting to roll over. I want to point some of that out in this video. Let's keep an eye on the dollar. We're looking here at the DXY on the daily chart. You've got bullish falling wedge here. You have bullish divergence right there, and you have a breakout. So we broke out. We've just been consolidating in this range right here. So looking for a break above these highs, really a break in daily close. The more impulsive, the better, above this 90.74. That should set us up for a move likely up to about 92. So watch that, and that's something to look at. I know a lot of people want me to cover the gold miners. I will cover those in a separate video. Not yet. I'm not seeing anything that's changing right now. I think the gold miners maybe could go a little lower before making their next move higher, but I will cover those in a separate video. XLF here, you can see week closing pretty much at the lows for today, and a new lower close, so we're down another 0.8%. Really what I'm looking for on XLF is a break below this 29.30 area, about 20. We get a solid break below, and that's really going to be a false breakout. Here's your 2011 lows, and this is the trend line that XLF has been in for the last 10 years. We broke that trend right here, back test, and we broke above. So right now we do have a breakout. So are we going to break out, come back in, back test the trend line, and then move higher? That's possible. Or we're going to break down, and this was a false breakout. We do have negative divergence on the PPO on the daily chart, but we don't have it on the RSI. So something to keep an eye on. Covering PayPal. So I pointed this out in the earlier video today, all the levels to watch for. So here's your daily chart. There's your uptrend line right there. And you can see we got a sell signal today. So there's the breakdown. And that's a sell signal. Looking at the hourly chart, well, actually, before I flip off this, we also have negative divergence right there, signaling a trend reversal is probable. And now we're seeing, and now we got the sell signal today. So that is a break of trend, meaning I think it's likely we head lower. Let's look at the hourly chart. You can see here, this was kind of the level I had marked out, about 244.20. And a close below that would really probably set this thing to the downside. And so far, that's played out where we saw continued selling throughout the into the close. And so there you go. There's your hourly chart, and starting to break down right there. So I think it's likely we head lower. Sorry, my lines are moving on me. We head lower down to this 226, 223.50 zone of support. Likely get a bounce there, and then we'll probably continue to head lower. Target down here at 206, and then we have major support right here. This is 175.80. We're definitely likely to find some buyers down there. If we break below that, then we've got a gap all the way down here at 129. That would be my final target, most likely, on this one. Energy, XLE, down another 2%. So again, I was talking about the short, and the way my trading style works, is I look for opportunities before they show up, and really that's what I try to point out in my videos. So in this, On XLE, I pointed out that we put in negative divergence right here. There's your negative divergence on the RSI and the PPO on the daily chart. So all this price action up here was divergent high. I figured that we had an island reversal cluster top back here in June of 2020, and that was likely going to prove to be the resistance area. So sure enough, that has proven to be accurate, and we are, you know, starting to what looks like a reversal in trend. Now, to say it's a complete reversal in trend, you need to see a lower low, a lower high and a lower low. So ideally, we're going to undercut these lows right here, and I think that's likely going to be around 34.32 is where this will come in at. And then we'll probably get a reaction there, and then we'll see. But again, I think this looks like it's heading down to 34, you know, about 34.20 or so. So we're gonna watch that one. Okay, let's look at Nike. I talked about this short a couple days ago. Here's what I like about Nike: bearish rising wedge. So you can see coming off the March 2020 lows, you got this trend line right here, trend line support, and then we created this bearish rising wedge just recently. Starting back in September, and really started to wedge higher. When we created that wedge, we also put in negative divergence. You can see it there on the RSI and the PPO. So you've got negative divergence on both indicators. You have a bearish rising wedge, bearish pattern, and then you look at the candlesticks. Here's the earnings report. They popped it up and it sold off, made one more attempt at it, and then it sold off, and finally it broke to the downside. So again, when you have these bearish rising wedge patterns and they start moving to the upside, I think it's usually pretty high probability that you're going to see that break down, and that's kind of the fake out move. So we now broke support right there. We did a back test of that support 2 days, well, 3 days basically. Back test there, and back test there. So 3 days of back testing that trend line, and we were rejected each and every time at that resistance. And now we're seeing, the sellers just continue to sell this thing down. So that's 4 days of solid selling, and we closed near the lows and broke this support right here at 136.37. So now we head down to the next support, which I think is right around, I've got it right around here, which is about 131.20. Give or take, a little bit, but 131.20, that's the next level of support. We break that, and I think we're heading down to 117. Again, this one could be making a run back towards the major trend line. And if I go to the weekly chart on Nike, here's the 2009 lows, and you can see just nice clean uptrend line. This is your bull market in Nike. Broke on the COVID thing, but that's you have to throw that out because it's kind of an outlier with the Fed stepping in. So we go back to just the original trend line, and that is all the way down here at 97, $100, depending on when or if it was to get down there. So I think that we could be heading down to that level. It's gonna take time. We'll probably bounce and then sell off and bounce and then finally get down there. Maybe we're around 105 or 110 or somewhere like that. So again, that's still looking good for the short trade. And going back to the hourly chart, since I basically called this out on my channel, which was really a break right here, and then especially that back test. But if you just took it on the breakdown, you're profitable by about 4.5%, 5%, and still looking good. Etsy here. So Etsy had some pre-market pump this morning based on some fluffy news. But you can see today they just basically, as soon as the market opened, they just sold into that thing pretty hard. So I think it was up 8% and it ended up closing down 2%. So that's about a 10% move in Etsy. And what that also did is you got this bearish engulfing candle right now on the daily chart. And it's also an outside day, so which means it opened above the previous day's highs and closed below the previous day's lows. And the more candles it encompasses, the better the signal. And this outside day really just wiped out quite a few days here. About 2 weeks worth of gains were engulfed with this outside day bearish engulfing candle. So now what you look for, because the bearish engulfing candle, outside day candle, is a potential reversal candle, you look for confirmation. Confirmation comes in the form of more selling. So if we see some more selling tomorrow, or, you know, or maybe we, you know, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but you just don't really want to be moving higher at this point. So you can, maybe tomorrow's just a really flat day and we kind of just chop around the lows and then we see some more selling. That's possible. But again, we want to see more selling before you see any upside. So that's what you're looking for in terms of confirmation. And if you get that, then it's possible that Etsy just put in a short-term top and we're going to reverse and start to trend down. So we're looking at next level of support. If we do that, right around 166.88. And then below that, we've kind of got this little range right in here. The top of the range, and we have this breakout candle. So somewhere right in 140.48 area. So we'll watch those levels. Peloton, sell signal. I pointed it out in my earlier video. Or the other day, I don't remember when I pointed it out, but it was in a video, so if you follow along, you would have seen it and known it. Again, I added to my short trade on this, and it was down 6% today, roughly. That's a sell signal. So when people ask me, what's a sell signal or what are you looking for? Well, you're looking for a break of trend line support. So here's your trend line on the daily chart. Lots of reactions along this trend line, and then you break support with, you know, kind of a gap down and then a sell off. Looking at the hourly, you can see, and you want to see impulsive selling. So, you know, and that was pretty much all, it was just selling all day today. And that's different than the previous breakdown. So we had 2 breakdowns previously, and you can see that, you know, we basically were snapped right back up either the very next day or the same day. So watch for, you know, this looks different. I'm just trying to point that out. It doesn't have to be. They could step in and buy the dip here and pop it back above support. But again, this one looks a little different this time. The other thing that's different on this one for this sell-off than it was last time is, well, one, when you look at the daily chart, look at the impulsive breakdown. It looks completely different. This breakdown right here, which was during the holiday week, was still closed pretty close to the trend line. It wasn't as impulsive, and it was also during a very thinly traded holiday week. This breakdown here is a much bigger breakdown, closing a lot farther down below the trend line. We didn't get the volume that I wanted to see. You know, that's one thing that gives me pause. The volume wasn't there. So we'll watch it. You know, I'd like to see some more volume come into this on the sell side. So yeah, and the other thing that's different, I guess, than these other breakdowns is we have negative divergence in place now where we didn't have that before on the daily chart. So clean negative divergence. And I've been tracking this one for a while. You know, I've been waiting for the setup to line up, and I see it. It's to me, it looks like the setup's here now. So I took it, obviously. I'm short, looking for this thing to roll over. Here's another one. Zillow Group pointed it out. There's a sell signal right there on the daily chart. And again, the point I'm trying to make is a lot of these momentum high-flying stocks are starting to break down. While everyone's focusing their attention on GME, there's some trade setups that are really starting to appear to the short side at least. And there's long setups too. Obviously, I'm looking for shorts because of my bearish view on the market. But let's go back to this chart. There's your breakdown sell signal, right? So if you look at this, let's go back to the bigger picture. March 2020 lows. Here's your nice clean uptrend line. Everything was great there. Trend was your friend. All that. And then it broke trend right here. But when it broke trend, no negative divergence in place. So we broke trend right there, but there was no negative divergence. So what do you get out? You know, when you don't have negative divergence, it's kind of a crapshoot. You know, you can still rally. So we did. We back tested there. Now this back test right here put in negative divergence. So now all this price action up here was divergent high price action. So now you had negative divergence, and we created a secondary trend line. So that's it. You track that secondary trend. You have negative divergence, anticipating a reversal of trend, but you got to wait for that sell signal of your trend, and you just watch, and there's your sell signal. Daily close, below, below kind of any near-term support. Looking at the hourly here, a little bit of support right here, and we still close below that. So in general, that is a sell signal on that one. Looks good to me. I think we're heading lower. Where's this one going to? Well, I'm going to have to look at some different levels, but obviously there's a level that's, right in here. It's right up, they stepped in a little early, but I think it's right about there. We'll just call it 130, give it the benefit of the doubt on this one, about 132.95. That's probably the next level of support where we're likely to get a reaction. We break down from there, and it looks to me like we're heading down to right about somewhere right in here at this, right in there, 113.75. So those are some two levels to watch. Now, and if we do that, we break all the way, we continue all the way down. That's a drop of 20%. So we're going to track that. I think it could even go a lot lower, but again, we'll just keep those levels up and watch it. Okay, that's really it for the video. So leave me a thumbs up if you guys find value, and I will catch you guys on the